Most tactical athletes train hard, but 90% of them are still average, and here's why. If you go to any of the gyms on an Army base, you'll see a very wide range of workout styles. You'll see most guys on the machines doing a ton of isolation work. You'll see others that only stick to the cardio equipment, and you'll definitely see the guys knocking out their favorite CrossFit workouts. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with this if that's how you enjoy working out and it keeps you active and you don't have any specific goals in mind. But if you want to be in the top 10%, if you want to max your PT test, perform well under a ruck, and stand out, your training should reflect that. A lot of guys think just showing up and doing gut check style workouts will get them to their goals. But that style of training is random, and anyone can go to the gym and just push themselves to fatigue. But our bodies adapt to the specific stress that we place on it. And if your training has no progression, you're just spinning your wheels. That's why so many guys do the same workouts, lift the same weights, and get frustrated when they see these same results. So if you want to gain an advantage over your peers, I want you to get out a piece of paper and do these 3 things. First, take an objective look at your strengths and weaknesses. Do you come from a strength background and need to improve your run times? Or maybe you come from an endurance background but struggle under a ruck. The training looks completely different for these 2 individuals, so it's important that you identify what you need to work on most. Here's a simple PT test to do and some goal numbers to hit. And if it's everything that you need to work on and you're newer to training, no worries. You can start with a balanced approach. And I actually did an entire video breaking this down, and I'll drop the link to that down in the description. Next, identify your goals. What are you actually training for? Do you have a specific runtime you need to hit? Are you prepping for a selection course or a PT test? Or do you just want to perform at a high level while maintaining a solid physique? There is no wrong answer here, so be completely honest with yourself about what your goals are. Because if you can't define your goals, there's no way you can build a progression towards it. And lastly, structure your training with intent. Instead of just working out, start training, which means every session has a purpose and the demands gradually increase over time. We're not just doing crazy volume for the hell of it. If your endurance is weak, your training should include a structured running progression gradually increasing in mileage. If your strength is lagging, your training should follow a proven progression model like the 5-3-1 method, tactical barbell, or one of the many effective training methodologies out there. If you're struggling under a load, you need to be rucking with a progressive weight and dialing in specific conditioning, not just throwing on a crazy heavy pack every once in a while. Most guys fail because they don't follow one structured progression. They bounce back and forth with different plans and end up not making progress with any of them. Track your numbers on a weekly basis, plan for a deload every 4 to 6 weeks, and ensure that you're gradually pushing more weight and your run times are dropping. Then repeat. Now, before you go jump into it, let's talk about some of the biggest mistakes I see guys making that are holding them back. Mistake number 1 is training like a bodybuilder when you need to move like an athlete. Muscle mass is great, but if it's not functional, it's just extra weight that you need to carry around, which is expensive energy wise. I can't tell you how many guys I talk to that are hitting 5 to 6 bodybuilding sessions a week, then complain about feeling heavy or slow on the runs. Hypertrophy training is designed to create as much damage to the muscles as possible. So if you're constantly prioritizing it and just stacking running and rucking on top of it, you can expect it to undermine your progress. Mistake number 2 is running miles at the same slow pace, thinking you're getting faster. If you've watched my content, you know zone 2 is a big part of endurance training. But speed, especially on 2 and 5 mile run times, comes from strategic training, not just clocking in miles at that zone 2 or comfortable pace. If you're not including a speed day once per week with sprints, threshold runs, and progression in your training, you will not see drastic improvements in your run times. And mistake number 3 is just thinking rucking is about brute strength. It's not just about throwing on a heavy pack. It's about efficiency, foot conditioning, and movement economy. And training multiple disciplines at once means we have to manage the fatigue. So if you're just going out there and throwing an 80-pound pack on your back every week and doing ruck runs, you can expect that to impact your progress overall. Approach it with structure. Start with about 15% of your body weight, focusing primarily on walking only rucks to build up that conditioning. As you progress, you can stair step it. So one week you might increase the mileage, next week you keep the mileage the same and you slightly increase the weight. Then as you approach whatever course or goal you have, you'll be positioned to increase the intensity of those rucks without immediately causing overuse injuries or things that are going to set you back. At the end of the day, being in the top 10% as a tactical athlete is not about genetics. Trust me, you do not need to be a freak athlete to be a star performer in the military. It's just about training smarter than the other 90%. And if you do these 3 things, assess your weaknesses, define your goals, and train with a purpose, you'll be light years ahead of the average guy who just shows up to suffer through a workout. Drop a comment down below with what you need to work on most, and I'll reply to as many as I can. And if you want a tactical training plan that's structured for real results, check the link down in the description. With that, appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one.